Marvel. Oh, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It started like a little baby in a film about a selfish weapons dealer making a suit of iron to save the day. Then, 10 years later, the MCU became a juggernaut in movies, like one about a purple-headed alien tyrant threatening to wipe out half the universe with 6 Infinity Stones, forcing a group of superheroes to try and stop him. The MCU is a phenomenon that millions of fans discuss, cosplay, and enjoy to the fullest with every movie released. So, if that's the case, why do most MCU villains suck like Malekith in Thor 2? Now, there are good MCU villains, of course, like Loki and Thanos. But today, I'm going to talk about an MCU baddie that I think is very underrated and is so much better than most others in Marvel's huge world of cinema. Not only that, I think he rivals Loki for the second best spot. I mean, come on, no one beats Thanos, let's be real. This villain is none other than Ultron in 2015's Avengers Age of Ultron, directed by Joss Whedon. Ultron is an artificially intelligent robot created by Tony Stark. Not Hank Pym, like in the comics, but nonetheless. He, like the comic version, sees humans as the problem that prevents peace on Earth, so he vows to annihilate everyone. There's a few reasons why I like Ultron so much. The first one is the voice actor. James Spader was born to play Ultron. He is menacing when he needs to be, funny at times, and I can't think of any other voice that matches with this version of the character. I don't hear a voice actor voicing Ultron. I hear Ultron. Next is Ultron's personality. He's like an evil Tony Stark in a robot body with just as much sass and wit. In addition to that, his more human-like personality in Age of Ultron gave him an interesting arc in the sense that despite his hatred of humans and his goal to bring about world peace by exterminating them and replacing organic life with metal, in the end he became the embodiment of what he hated so much about humanity and was no better than the humans that he hated, and he couldn't even see through his own hypocrisy. His banter with the Maximoff twins and the Avengers themselves is very interesting to watch. When it comes to the twins, however, he actually cares about the well-being of them and is distraught when they leave him.
One, if you stay here, you'll die.
Ultron almost always has something interesting to say that the other boring MCU antagonists can't even bother to manage. The fact that he compares his actions to religion is quite interesting, as Ultron sees himself as the savior of Earth in his own twisted way, despite the fact that he's doing the exact opposite of saving it.
I was meant to be new. I was meant to be beautiful. The world would have looked to the sky and seen hope, seen mercy. Instead, they'll look up in horror because of you.
Another reason Ultron is underrated in my opinion is because he's neither an unstoppable force of nature that the Avengers can't harm, such as Thanos again, nor a weak villain that can't fight them physically at all, such as Zemo. Ultron is a bit of both. There are scenes in the movie where his body is defeated, but he's not truly defeated as he just has more bodies in his disposal. But there's also scenes in the movie where Ultron kicks ass, like when he's fighting Thor in the final battle with his stronger body. I like the fact that Ultron is not impossibly strong nor pitifully weak. Both of those villain types have been done to death and are quite boring to me. It's cool when an antagonist is somewhere in the middle when it comes to strength like Ultron. Not only that, he has an entire army of Ultron sentries for the Avengers to fight as viable reinforcements. People often complain that the movie Ultron is just a joker and that he's not menacing at all.
Do you see the beauty of it? The inevitability. You rise, only to fall. You, Avengers, you are my meteor, my swift and terrible sword, and the earth will crack with the weight of your failure. Purge me from your computers, turn my own flesh against me. It means nothing. When the dust settles, the only thing living in this world will be metal.
Have you seen the movie? Ultron has plenty of menacing scenes to show him as a true threat to all of the Avengers. Ultron is balanced to me. He has a few funny moments and a few menacing moments. That's what makes him interesting to me. He's not a soulless killer machine, but he's also not a complete goofball with no menace whatsoever. He's a bit of both. This shows how much character and personality Ultron has. He's unique. He has a charisma that no other MCU villain has. He's interesting to watch every time he's on screen, and he's not forgettable like most of MCU's rogues gallery. I love that final conversation between Ultron and Vision at the end of the movie, where the two sentient AIs discuss their views on humans and the world as a whole. It's such an intriguing part of the film to watch, and it's a good place to send Ultron off as Vision kills him.
You were supposed to be the last. Stark asked for a savior and settled for a slave.
But a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts. It's a privilege to be among them.
You're unbearably naive.
I was born yesterday.
This is such a well done scene, and it's one of the best scenes not just in Age of Ultron, but in the MCU as a whole, and Ultron is a big part of that. For those reasons I discussed, Ultron is the most underrated MCU villain to me, that gets a bit too much hate just because he's not exactly like the comic book version. He's more interesting than the comic version in my opinion. He is very memorable and interesting, but can also be menacing and tough while being simultaneously funny and vulnerable. There's a pseudo-religious theme to him, as he has his church in Sokovia and he tries to be a savior of Earth. He's unforgettable and he definitely deserves to be in the top 5 MCU antagonist roster. And finally, we can't forget.
There are no strings on me.